All right, let's get to some analysis of what's happening on these markets then. We're joined by Chris Weston from RG Markets in Melbourne. Chris, it's even kind of a turnaround since we first started this session. What have you been seeing that first hour?
Well, we saw a bit of a move down in the Aussie dollar first thing, and we thought, well, you know, are other risk assets like equities going to follow it down? But that hasn't been the case at all. We saw some real money accounts coming out selling the Aussie, but it's just bounced back again. And I think that the real interesting thing is we started to see US futures moving slightly higher from where we opened at 10 o'clock, and I think that's keeping our market propelled. So we're seeing a lot of buying coming through in the material space. We saw that yesterday, a lot of short covering coming through. We're seeing that, as you said there, in Fortescue. You know, you can look at Linus Corp, had a really good technical breakout yesterday down through the February uptrend. We saw a few people looking to buy into it on that, and what we did actually see this morning, if you just take Linus for example, is we saw the stock open trade lower down to about 101, and it's back up about 11% higher from that. So that's a remarkable turnaround through that. So we've seen some very good buying coming through that stock. You know, there's some other interesting stories. Emeco's been upgraded to Goldman Sachs conviction buy list today, and News Corp as well. That's a really good derivative play on the Australian dollar. If you still think that that's got legs to the downside, then News Corp, with its good quality earnings coming through, will continue to be a very good place to be. And you've got Aquarius Platinum as well. Last time I checked, that was up 7%. Had a very good listing in London last night. Had a very good trade in Johannesburg. Lots of talk about what's happening with their banking license, because they probably won't fall under the Royal Bank of or the RBA of Zimbabwe's banking supervision license there. So the stock's looking very strong today as well. But again, I think the volumes are very, very low, so I'm not getting overly carried away by this bullish sentiment playing through. You know, the last time I checked, it was about $800 million worth of shares traded hands, which is pretty light for this time of day. You'll expect to see over $1 billion worth of shares traded hands, and but again, we'll take it. I mean, considering the leader we got in from Wall Street, we're expecting a 0.5% drop on open because of the Spanish concerns. You know, we've seen a bit of a wave of buying coming through, albeit light volume today.
Just looks like there's something gone on that even the past half hour. We were down 0.7%. Do you think? I know some people suggested even with the Australian dollar, maybe this rate cut talk coming into play, what would be positive for the share market?
Well, I mean, I did see someone talk. There was some chatter about that. There was also some talk. Some of the investment banks were saying that there was some talk about some of the brokers being slightly overhedged Aussie dollars. But I think really what we saw this morning was a very strong move down in Australian bonds from the open of the bond market. We saw 10-year drop 7 basis points. Pretty big move. You know, you can look at the 3-year bond future, which has had a sizable bid up this morning. So that's been pushing up prices up. Obviously, yields down, and I think that's really been testament to some strong buying support. So I think that's part of the reason why we saw with the Australian dollar down. What I will say though is that further talk overnight, renewed talk about Russia looking to diversify its foreign exchange funds and talk about perhaps buying more Australian dollars. They talked about it a number last year, I believe. I think it makes up about 1% at the moment. So again, if Russia come out and start buying a load of Australian dollars, very, very positive for the Aussie dollar. Probably not so positive for our economy, which seems to be enjoying the lower Australian dollar at the moment. But yeah, I think the move lower in yields was part of the reason why we saw a move lower in the Aussie dollar. That brought the euro and sterling down with it as well. But we have seen a bit of a snapback in recent times as US futures start moving up again.
Yeah, what are you expecting from the US session tonight? Is there anything in particular that drives it, and what are the levels in particular?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of spoke about it this morning. I think I've seen a number of people coming out calling a bottom on this market, and there are merits to that as well. I just want to see the technicals really showing that as well. Here in Australia, I want to see 41.26 being broken and closed above before I get a little bit more excited. But I think if you've got to look at the S&P, we always do. It's going to be the benchmark. It's what the SPY trades around overnight. It's what our market sort of reacts to. And I think if you're looking for the bullish, we need a close above last week's high, 13.28, and then you can get a close above 13.38.39, which is the 38% retracement of the recent fall. So I think to get a close above that on the S&P would be good for our market, because there's huge support on the S&P between 1280 and 1290. I'm not going to go through all the levels, but there's about 5 or 6 different levels to look at, and that's where the base can build. If we get a close to the upside, you can start getting a bit more excited, but I think we get a close below 1280, the market looks a bit, certainly pulls lower. We've got the housing numbers tonight, Case-Shiller housing numbers tonight, again feeding into this housing recovery story that people have been talking about. Consumer confidence numbers, the University of Michigan numbers on Friday were quite good, but these ones, the official ones, are expected to move up a touch to around 69.5. And then, of course, you've got to look at the Dallas Fed manufacturing numbers. The regional manufacturing numbers have become more important because of the Philly Fed numbers recently, which were terrible, and took a lot of wind out the risk sales last time. So, yeah, looking at that, I mean, we can also look at the bond auctions or the bill auctions coming through Italy and France. There's a sizable amount of money needing to be raised there as well. And then you've got German CPI and retail sales. And then we're looking to see if that euro can push up to that 126.20 level, where we're potentially going to see sellers come out again. You know, that's where the level seems to be that people will want to come in and close above that level, 126.20, and that will probably be another sign that the S&P is ready to move higher as well.
Fantastic.